Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is yet another thoughts on video, and the topic for this video is celebrity crushes. Now, before I get around to sharing more of my thoughts on this topic, I want to give a special shout out to Brian for requesting this video. And if there's another film, TV show, or topic that you would like to see me discuss in the future, feel free to donate to either my PayPal or to my Patreon. The link to both is in the video description down below, and I will try to get to it as soon as I possibly can. Now, before I share this list of crushes, I want to make some things clear. The intent of this video is just to point out some beautiful and very talented women that I have been a fan of, and it's not intended to be a creepy sort of thing. But I will say this, I do feel a little hesitant and a little uncomfortable talking about this topic, but I'm gonna handle it the best I possibly can. And in all honesty, I think that uncomfortableness just comes from outside pressures, and it's not really necessarily the topic itself. It's just that, when you're of a certain age and you're just talking about people that you find attractive, that you crushed on when you were younger, it is something that I'm not gonna say it's strange, but it's definitely something that I do believe sparks a certain kind of discussion, and sometimes the discussion isn't always the best because it becomes a very superficial kind of thing where people aren't necessarily discussing these incredibly talented actresses or actors if you're talking about male crushes. You're not discussing all the nuances. You're not discussing anything other than their physical attractiveness. And I think, that could definitely be something that creates kind of a one-sided conversation. But like I said, I'm gonna try to handle this the best I possibly can. I'm just gonna list the celebrity crushes. So I got Tracy Lind, who I thought really stood out in My Boyfriend's Back. And I like her in a lot of other stuff that she's done as well, like Fright Night Part 2. But yeah, she was definitely one of my first major crushes as a kid, was Tracy Lind from My Boyfriend's Back. And I still think she's gorgeous to this day. And she's also talented. Um, uh, for whatever reason, her career never really took off completely, to the point where she wound up retiring from acting at a relatively young age for an actor in the industry. Another lady that I have here is Shawnee Smith. Uh, I definitely crush on her. In all honesty, the Blob remake was definitely one of the films that caused me to get a crush on her, but also Who's Harry Crumb? Because I didn't see the Blob remake until later. My first introduction to her was in Who's Harry Crumb, and I definitely thought she was very attractive, but I also thought she was a very charismatic actress, and that really appealed to me as well. And she still is one of my favorite actresses to this day. I feel the same way about Leah Thompson. Um, like a lot of people my age that grew up watching Back to the Future or other films that she was in, like Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck is the main one for me. Her performance as Beverly in that movie. Um, but Leah Thompson has always been an actress that I've been fond of in a multitude of different ways. And I also grew up with her in other forms of film and other types of film, uh, um, which is, you know, not necessarily something that's that far out of left field, but it wasn't just Back to the Future or Howard the Duck. Like I also watched Jaws 3D a lot on VHS, so that's another reason why I have Leia on this list. Kelly McGillis was a huge crush of mine. Top Gun was arguably one of, if not my favorite film growing up as a kid. I watched that film countless times on VHS. I even had a Top Gun flight jacket. I listened to the soundtrack on cassette to the point where I wore out my mom's copy of it. Yeah, I was a huge Top Gun fan. And I would say Kelly was definitely one of the earliest crushes that I can think of. And Kelly is also another actress that I think doesn't get enough credit. Not only was she very attractive and hot and sexy back in the day, in her prime, but she was also a very talented actress. I mean, look no further than The Accused. Like her performance in that is tremendous. Kim Cattrall is another one for me. Uh, I didn't really grow up with Sex in the City like some people did. For me, it was her performance as Gracie in Big Trouble in Little China. Like that's that, and also Mannequin, because my mom was a big fan of Mannequin, so I'd seen that quite a few times. So Kim Cattrall definitely did leave an impression on me. And I'm glad that over the years, through something like Sex in the City, she was able to uh, get a whole new kind of fan base to appreciate her many talents. Carrie Lowell is another one. Specifically, her performance in License to Kill. I used to watch a lot of Bond films on DVD growing up, and License to Kill was one that I watched a lot, along with The Living Daylights and GoldenEye. And Carrie Lowell was always a Bond girl that really stood out to me with the shorter hair and just she had a certain sophistication to her, and she was a badass when she needed to be. I really liked Carrie in that film. She's honestly one of my favorite Bond girls. Kathleen Turner. Uh, it's so sad what I think it's rheumatoid arthritis. I think that's what it was. It was some kind of disease or some kind of thing that affected her health, and it also affected her looks and her appearance. And I'm glad that she's found a way to cope with it after all this time. But man, like before all of that, she was a gorgeous woman. And not only just a woman that was very attractive, but she was also very adept when it comes to acting. And my first impression of her was really stark, and that's because the first time I ever saw her or anything other than her voicing Jessica Rabbit in Who Framed Roger Rabbit was the film Romancing the Stone. And so yeah, Kathleen Turner, she could romance me any day. Sigourney Weaver was another one for me. I grew up watching Ghostbusters, so her in that red dress when she's possessed by Zool. And also I grew up watching Alien and Aliens, and yeah, Sigourney's definitely an actress that definitely left a impact on me, and she's also one of my favorite actresses, even to this day. Even though I don't necessarily agree with some of her opinions, and I don't like what she wound up doing with Alien 3. I still do have a lot of admiration and appreciation for Sigourney. Daphne Zuniga, uh, Princess Vespa in Spaceballs. I watched Spaceballs countless times growing up. So she always stood out to me because of that. Um, Specifically the scene where like she just guns down all of those Spaceball troopers with the gun when they shot at her hair. She goes all Rambo on them. Like that's something I didn't really see a lot of when it comes to a female character. So that was definitely something that really clicked for me when I was a kid, and in a lot of ways, kind of still does. And she had a good sense of humor, and I always find that to be something that's very attractive. And I also really liked her in The Fly too. I thought she was good in that, and worked well off of Eric Stoltz in that film. Catherine Mary Stewart, specifically in, I believe, yeah, she was in The Last Starfighter. She was the girlfriend of the lead, and I always was entranced by her because of that. I grew up with The Last Starfighter. I watched that a lot, and kept up on her career afterwards in other films, like lesser known films that she did, like Night Flyers. Jennifer Connelly, uh, Jenny in The Rocketeer. The Rocketeer was one of my personal favorite films growing up, and I was definitely infatuated with her. Um, I wish that I was able to be Cliff Secord, not just so I could fly around with a jetpack and the helmet and be the Rocketeer, but so I could also get you know Jenny, Jennifer Connelly, Michelle Pfeiffer from specifically Batman Returns as Catwoman. Uh, that's definitely one of the along with the Rocketeer. Definitely one of the earlier sort of awakenings for me that I can think of is definitely Michelle Pfeiffer in that movie. Gina Davis. Gina Davis is the big one for me. Cutthroat Island and The Long Kiss Goodnight, the Fly remake, um, even her bit role in Transylvania 65000. Uh, I've joked in some other videos, that she's my girl, and she's not really, but it is. She is one of the actresses that I've been a huge fan of in more ways than one for a long time. Mary Elizabeth Monster Antonio is another one. I grew up with Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and The Abyss, so I've been a fan of hers for a while. Alexandra Paul from Christine in particular. I mean, why not? I mean, hey, a lot of people have said that I look similar to Keith Gordon, so that you know she's my girl. Uh, um, Diane Lane from Judge Dredd and Streets of Fire. Big fan of Diane Lane. I think she's an incredibly talented actress. She doesn't really get enough credit for how talented she is. She's not only a very attractive actress, but she has a lot of other talents. It's not just her beauty. Um, and she started out like really young. Like her performance in, I believe it's the Ladies and Gentlemen, the Fabulous Stains. It was a very early role from her, and she was. I don't even think she was like even 20 years old when she did that. And so she started her career off at a young age and was just instantly someone who showed a lot of flair and talent for acting, and even as an older actress, she's still done some good work. She was one of the best things about Man of Steel, as Martha. Um, some more crushes off the top of my head: Elizabeth Shue, from Adventures in Babysitting and Back to the Future, parts 2 and 3. Joanne Whaley Kilmer, or just Joanne Whaley. Sorsha from Willow. Willow is a film that I watched numerous times growing up. Still one of my favorites. I definitely felt that she was a babe in that. Christy Swanson. I mean, she was. She had those supermodel looks. Um, Definitely an actress that stood out to me. I'm trying to remember exactly. Oh yeah, I remember which one it was. It was her in the Phantom. That's the performance that really I keep saying stood out because I don't really know what else to say. But yeah, it's the performance that I would say made the biggest impression on me when I was younger. Penelope Ann Miller is another one from The Shadow. Sean Young from Dune, and Dr. Jekyll and Miss Hyde. I know it's kind of crazy, but like that's a film that I randomly rented from the local library when I was a kid, and Sean Young from that film has always uh, um, done it for me, so to speak. It's a shame what she ultimately wound up doing later on in her career. It's not because of anything to do with her looks or anything. It's that she started to deal with some mental illnesses, and she had other problems that really derailed her career. And it's honestly a shame because I think she started out her career with just an unbelievable trajectory. I mean, Blade Runner, and a lot of ways considered like one of the hottest actresses of in her prime, and not just physical attractiveness, but in terms of her talent and her popularity. And also it was just one of those things where she was like one of the it girls in the early to mid 80s. Catherine Zeta-Jones from The Mask of Zorro, uh Adrienne Barbeau. In fact, one of the first time I would say the first time I can remember seeing full frontal nudity is Adrienne Barbeau's boobs from Swamp Thing. I rented Swamp Thing, the 1982 film from like Hollywood Video on VHS, and I was watching it with my mom. And this was the infamous VHS that had the international version, which had nudity in it. And so, can you imagine how awkward that is? You're watching this movie with your mom, and you're like 8 or 10, and your mom, your parents, they don't really let you watch a lot of stuff that's full of nudity or anything like that. And then there it is. And she, to her credit, she didn't let me finish the movie. Like, she didn't like shut the movie off. She let me finish it. Um, Now you also have Selma Blair from Hellboy, Elizabeth Hurley from Bedazzled, Rachel Wise from The Mummy. It's a big one for me. Karen Allen from Raiders of the Lost Ark, among other films. Jenny Agutter from American Werewolf in London. Pretty underrated babe, if you ask me. Nancy Allen, of course. Lewis. from RoboCop, but also uh, Carrie and other films that she was in. Blowout is another one. Salma Hayek, Sandra Bullock from Speed, and Demolition Man. Heather Langenkamp from A Nightmare on Elm Street, New Nightmare. Mia Sara from Legend, and I believe it was also Time Cop, and Lori Petty from Tank Girl. So that is my list of celebrity crushes. Um, and if there are any that you want to discuss in the comments down below, feel free to mention them. But yeah, and yeah, a lot of them, older actresses, from the past, because that's what those are the kind of films that I grew up with. There are some newer actresses though that I definitely have been following. Charlize Theron. Um, I actually am a fan of Scarlett Johansson, Sydney Sweeney, Anya Taylor Joy. Um, yeah, there's some newer names that I've been. I'm not gonna say infatuated with. It's not like it's this sort of creepy stalker thing, but I definitely do keep an eye on their works and look forward to seeing what they're doing. And not really due to like their physical attractiveness. Like that's part of it, to be honest, but really it's due to their talent. That's the thing that I'm attracted to more than necessarily their physical features, or their assets, so to speak. But yeah, that is my thoughts on celebrity crushes. And until the next video, I'll see you later. See ya.